Welcome. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the Fireside Chat series, The Business of People. I'm Dr. Reginald King. I am the chair of the Business and Entrepreneurship Department here at PGCC, and I want to welcome you all. We're delighted to host you, and this is our InnoHub. If you're a business student, this is the InnoHub. This belongs to you. We're going to be hosting a lot of events here. We'll have a lot of events like we're having here, fireside chats, meet and greets. So make sure that you connect with your professors and find out there is at least 2 events happening every single month. So I want you all to get involved. All right, today's conversation spotlights the people-powered side of business, how relationships, leadership, and emotional intelligence shape success in modern workplaces. We'll explore the practical ways to build influence, lead with impact, and prepare for the future. It is my distinct honor to introduce our distinguished guest and sole panelist for today, Mr. Lewis Powell. Let's give him a hand. He is president and COO of Ready Temp, and he'll tell you a little bit about that because that's not his only company. Mr. Powell is the founder and chairman of Antioch Holdings, bringing over 30 years of leadership across property and casualty insurance, telecommunications, engineering, and corporate management. He began his telecommunication career at 18 and rose to network engineer manager at Wireless Matrix, leading teams that design and deploy satellites technologies for U.S. trucking and rail. I'm going to leave the rest to Dr. Yorkshire. Dr. Yorkshire, some of you already know her. If you haven't had her, you will. Dr. Yorkshire is a professor here. She teaches at PGCC. She's been teaching since 2001. She teaches both introductory and upper level courses. She is the perfect guide to this discussion. So I want to again thank you again, Mr. Powell, for coming.
Thank you.
And now it is in your hands, Dr. Yorkshire.
Right. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to give Mr. Powell another round of applause for being here today. And I want to give you all a round of applause for being here to join this conversation. So let's get right into it. And for those of you, if this is your first Fireside Chat, so I'm going to have a conversation with Mr. Powell. I have some questions that I've prepared. We're just going to flow with the conversation. And then when I conclude, I'll give you a heads up so that if you would like to come up to ask a specific question to him, you'll be able to do that. Okay? All right. So, Mr. Powell, you've combined engineering, finance, and management in your career. How can Gen Z students prepare themselves to succeed in a workplace where multiple skill sets are increasingly important?
Great question. First, I want to say I'm so excited to be here with front of you guys. It's truly an honor. Dr. King said something important about when we were coming up. It was a lot of opportunities to be in a room with entrepreneurs and leaders. And so I'm excited to share my experience with you. So back to your question, having multiple skills are very important. It leads to many opportunities, but I think the key to doing that is having a vision for where you want to be. And so I heard hospitality, I heard civil engineering, I heard business. And so when you look at those different lanes, they're going to require a lot of different skill sets, right? And so what you have to figure out is what skill sets you're going to be able to leverage. And really, where you look into is inward and see where the things that you're really good in, right? Because there's so many different things that you have to know to be in those different lanes. Like to run a business, you got to know about accounting, you got to know about finance, You got to know about operations. You got to know about HR. You can't know it all, right? And so you kind of got to look inward and see where you think you could be really good at and start building from there. I think that would be the best place to start looking at.
All right, awesome. Thank you. I agree with you. And you started your response by mentioning that we have to have a vision for where we want to be. And I know in my intro to business classes, we've been talking about having a vision and a mission from the entrepreneurial perspective,
Yes.
but we've also touched on having a personal one.
Yes.
So why is it so important to have vision?
It gives you a roadmap. It gives you a place to get to. Having a mindset around that. I think about, like, even when I was young, I had ideas about how I wanted to appear in the world, the type of home I wanted to have, kids, the whole thing. And so it gives you a roadmap to follow. And without a roadmap to follow, you kind of don't know when opportunities to go left or right occur. And so the vision is really important. It sets the whole thing up for you, really. And it's a great time. If you don't have one, don't be ashamed. Just get one, and getting around entrepreneurs. Dr. King and I were talking just quickly, a sidebar, about having knowledge about where opportunities are. And sometimes in the academic settings, and this is a great setting, but in the real world, you really don't see the lanes. You really don't see where the opportunities to pivot because it's kind of structured, right? And let me tell you something, guys. Life is not really structured. It doesn't work from point A to point B. It really doesn't go that way. There's a lot of zigzags.
Right.
And so that's really what the key is, and for that vision. So you have an opportunity to see with the pitfalls and things of that sort that comes along the way.
Right. And also, when we have a vision, we can, I think, better discern or see when distractions come, right? Because distractions kind of pull us away from our vision.
Yeah.
Right? You've led both engineering and business teams. What are the top 3 qualities you believe every young leader should cultivate today?
Patience, grit, leadership. Yeah. Listen, I was having a conversation the other day with my nephew, and some people don't look for leadership, and some people do. Most people, given the opportunity, will step in. So leadership is important. Leadership is very important, especially if you want to look to own your own business, right? If you're looking to go down that path to own your own business, you got to have leadership skills. So it's a good idea to start developing now and plug into the community college. I teach the workshop on leadership here at the Center of Innovation. So, you got to plug into that. That's really important. But grit and patience. Patience is so important. And when I worked in the engineering field, I helped design better methods for communicating over satellite, data methods. And so oftentimes I was sitting in a room by myself trying to figure out how to get these communication channels set up, trying to figure out how to do the math, the calculus, all the things that were needed to do the calculations and things of that sort. And it took time. And oftentimes there were days and weeks where I couldn't solve the problem. And so that helped me a lot when I got into business, because there were many days that I didn't have any wins. And so, and grit is really what you guys are doing right now by coming here and also going to college and working through that process. But it doesn't end there. It takes, I don't know, you guys, one individual mentioned civil engineering. I didn't finish my college degree, though, but I did go through the process and got pretty much 3 to 4 years of engineering studying. But I remember we had about, in the 3rd year, we had 40 hours of lab that you had to do. And so that was like this classwork stuff was one thing, but the lab work was really where the grit showed up, right? Because you really had to figure things out. Again, it's just all these things are the stepping stones of getting you to that place where you can execute in this business arena.
Right. How do you personally approach leading people through times of uncertainty or conflict? And what can young professionals learn about staying resilient in change?
Yeah, that's a good question. That is a powerful question. So, when you're in a leadership role, there are going to be a lot of opportunities for providing guidance. And oftentimes, I can give you an example. There was a project that we were working on. We were developing a new product, and I was assured that I was going in the right direction. And, as a leader, as a boss, it's on you. You get to rule the day, if you will. But I understood, because of my background in developing technologies, that when I work for companies, that is a team effort. And so I understood immediately that I had to acknowledge that I made a mistake to the team. That's an example of leadership. And so the idea when you're in challenging situations is the understanding that you have the opportunity to make the change. And being silent is not the answer. Good leadership looks like, what it looks like to me is when people are able to follow you, your guide, your lead, without them being forced to do it. They understand that we're doing this collectively. And so oftentimes people respond to what you do and how you do things, right? And so picking up these skill sets now is really important. So we talked about earlier, again, we're going to talk a lot about leadership, but leadership really is one of the key components to being a successful entrepreneur. It's the key to doing a lot of things in life, in fact. And so.
Yes, thanks for really drilling down into what leadership looks like.
Yeah.
In talking to students and just the younger people in the younger generation, I hear them say on their jobs they're only going to do what they're being paid to do. They're not going to go above and beyond, or they don't want to take on new tasks if they don't get paid for those tasks. Can you kind of talk about the importance of being receptive to the new tasks, even if they don't get a pay increase at that time? How they can leverage those additional duties, if you will?
That's a great question. So listen, guys, the best way to translate these things is give real world examples, right? And so I can think of opportunities where I was given the chance to do something that didn't appear to be a lot of upfront win. So I talked about vision before, right? So if you don't have vision, you can't see opportunity. So I'm going to give you a quick story and a brief story, but I recently served on the board of directors of an insurance company, and it was the third largest insurance company in the state of Maryland. And it was an opportunity to be the board chair came up. And quick story is that they were counting votes, and the opportunity came around for me to be considered as a person that could help decide who's going to get the seat. And so, quick story, I left corporate America for one particular reason, is that I didn't feel like I was going to be able to reach the higher heights of corporate America because of my background and lack of the higher degrees and things of that sort. So I'm going to create my own path there. Okay, so that was my vision. And so I'm finally at this place. I'm on a paid board, and I'm at the opportunity where I could leverage. And so I'm not going to go into too much of the detail, but basically what happened was, because of my vote was needed, I had a vision of where I wanted to be. I positioned myself to become vice chair. And so one day offline, I can share with you how I was able to navigate that, because I know this is going to be recorded. I don't want to create too much of a dilemma, but what I'm telling you is that because I had a vision for where I was trying to get to, right, and have an understanding of where the opportunity. Now listen, when it came to me to make a decision, they actually thought that because I was new, I was a young African American, I didn't have any idea of how I run a $2 billion company, that I would be afraid of the opportunity. And so they really wasn't offering me nothing. They thought they were offering me something, but they really didn't offer me anything. But they didn't understand my vision, what I was trying to do. And so I was able to create a scenario where I was able to create an opportunity for myself through an opportunity that really wasn't there. So going back to your point. But other examples of that is, I remember when I was working for this firm, Comsat Corporation, and they were the U.S. signatory for satellite communications. That's where I got most of my engineering training from. And I was given the task to figure out how to create this connection between the satellite antenna that was probably like 3,000 feet away from the actual controller. Long story short, again, didn't even know that this was a test for me, right? They had already figured out how to do the design. They were trying to see if I would have the grit and the capacity to take on the challenge. And so the reason why there really wasn't a really end game there, the solution was already there. They was just testing me out. So given the opportunity, they said, well, who wants the job to go figure this out? I said, all right, I'll take it. And so I did it, got it figured out. Then to come to find out that they had already decided and already figured out how to do the solution. So it was just a test to see if anyone had the fortitude. Because I was able to get that assignment completed, I got the job to do other projects. And in fact, it ended up, because I got the opportunity to work on those other projects, when the company had layoffs a few months later, I got a job assignment to work in Saudi Arabia for the Royal Prince of Saudi Arabia to help develop this satellite system with distance learning education. So it's just these pathways, again, where there are opportunities that will lead you to places where you just don't know. So you got to be open to opportunities.
Yes. I hope you all are connecting the dots here with the story, right? Because if he had never said anything or stepped up, it's an automatic no, right?
Yeah.
If you don't put yourself out there. So that's a great segue into my next question. Soon we are going to host, the college is hosting a career fair here on campus.
Mm-hmm.
What advice do you have for students preparing for job interviews or internships in terms of standing out on their resume?
So, first of all, on your resume, your objective is not needed. we know you're looking for a job. So take the objective off. Provide a nice summary. Get familiar with ChatGPT or with other AI technology. Familiarize yourself with, but you want to provide a great summary. So here's what we're looking for. We're looking for you to summarize who you are in a couple of sentences, right? And so we want, if the job requires, so watch this. Picture this, guys. When the resumes come in, it's not just yours, it's everybody in the room here. And so I guarantee you that if I had to sit down and look at your resume, I could do that. We sit here for 15 minutes, I go through all your resumes. Because you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to scan, I'm looking for keywords. So if I got one job to fill, I'm looking for somebody with a college degree. Do you have a college degree? You do or don't? You don't, in the corner. I don't look at you no more because I ain't got to study no more, right? So does that all make sense? So what they do is they scan your resume and look for keywords. Now they got software doing that. So you don't even have to do that anymore, but if someone's going to take the time to do that. So first of all, if they're reading your resumes, because they have to at this point, because they went through the keywords and they've done that first set of review. So now they got to read it. So look at your summary. They want to see everything about who you are up at the top. So again, that's your college degree, transferable skills. Mm-hmm. If you're applying for an accountant position, I worked as a CPA at this firm here, okay? How many years of experience you have? So you want to keep it really short. The next piece is your job. When did you work there? I don't need to know. Oh, up top, I don't need to know your home address, all that kind of stuff. 'Cause I'm trying to cut it down to size. Get down to your job, what you did in your job. I want to know impact. Mm-hmm. Right? I had a position at MGM we were filling, right? And so the job was to scan documents. Okay, I know you can scan documents, but what impact? Like MGM has a lot of documents that need to be scanned. I can scan over 2,000 documents per second. I mean, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Quantify.
Yeah, quantify what you can do. I want to know impact. Think about those things. Mm-hmm. STAR method, yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Situation, task, action, results. What have you done? Mm-hmm. What impact are you bringing to that organization? Because watch this, folks. We're trying to solve a problem. That's why we're outsourcing. That's why we're hiring for the position, because we're looking to solve a problem. We had a position to fill. So we had a contract a long time ago with the Army, working in the depot, okay? And so it's inventory, folks. It's really about inventory. We got a room full of equipment, room full of tennis shoes, room full of equipment, right? Transferable, makes sense? You got inventory. All right, and so the inventory has a certain dollar value. What is it, 100,000 at Foot Locker, 100 million at the depot, right? Make those transitions, understand the impact of what you're doing. You're working at Foot Locker, you're like, all I got is these tennis shoes, what difference does it make? That's $100,000 worth of inventory in there. Whatever's going on, you got to understand where you are and how it transfers. Okay, so now you got that connection with the job. So now when you on your job, so what is he asking? He's saying on your resume, I worked at Foot Locker. We had over inventory of 100,000. My job was responsible for making sure the inventory was there and sustainable. The people weren't stealing. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Make it make sense. So listen, at the Army, at the depot, they already know that it's impossible for you to have access to this sort of collateral. Does that make sense? You can't get to $100 million. They know that. This is looking for transferable, that you have a wherewithal of where you are in the capacity that you're supporting it. That's what people are looking for. So they're looking for when you show up that you can sit in this seat. That's why I told you about that board seat. Mm-hmm. They didn't think that I could sit in the chairman's seat, right? Because they never, I didn't have the background for it. And so there's got to be some sort of transferable something that, because they thought I did, they wouldn't approach me the way they did, right? So you got to have the insight about what's going on. I understood what that seat looked like. Mm-hmm. They didn't understand it. My first computer operator job, I used my McDonald's work experience, working on the cash register to operate the computer. Mm-hmm. Because watch this, guys. I'm telling my age. I'm almost 60 years old, but cash registers. You guys probably see them now. They're all digitized, so you just swipe your card. But back then, when I was a kid, they had cash where you had to put the numbers in, you key them in. And then when we got older, they had digital cash registers. So that didn't come around until like the 90s or the 80s, right? And so prior to that, you had to operate the digital cash register. Some of the older people, when I started working at McDonald's, they didn't know how to work the cash register because it was like a computer to them. Mm-hmm. Great question. Thank you.
Yes, and I'm so glad you mentioned customer service because that is still very, very important.
Yeah.
I mean, when I go to the store and whoever is, at the register, I speak. And sometimes I have to speak twice because maybe that he or she didn't hear me. You greet people, right? You acknowledge them. That's just, to me, basic customer service. Mm-hmm. And you have to bring a certain level of energy when you're on a job, even a job interview. Mm-hmm. Because if you come to the interview and you're talking like this, or we can't hear you, or you're looking down, not looking at the person eye to eye, chances are you're not getting the job.
Yeah.
So you probably like, I know. But we just want to reiterate that customer service is so essential. All right, I have two more questions for Mr. Powell. So for those of you who have questions brewing in your minds, just get ready to come on up and ask them in a few minutes. All right. You're known for pairing professional success with community service. Mm. Why is community involvement so valuable for building a career and just an overall professional reputation?
I don't know. For me, it's somewhat like it's civic duty. It's family. It's community, right? And so it's really, especially for a business owner, right? You're going to be hiring people that work and live in your community, more than likely. And so having understanding of what that means, having those connections, it really goes along with your brand, right? But you got a social responsibility to contribute. Your responsibility is not just to your immediate household. Your responsibility is to your neighbor. That's why they call it a neighborhood. And so it's the core of what you do. I mean, in terms of how you service your customers. Your customers not only have a business here, they actually live here too. Mm-hmm. So it connects. It's the whole connection. It's the full 360 there.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. I agree. Very important to give back in any way that you can, as on a personal level and certainly corporate level. All right, and my last question, what do you see as the biggest changes coming to the workplace within the next 5 to 10 years, and how should Gen Z start preparing now?
You guys don't beat me up when I use the word AI, right? It's such a cliche now, right? But it is. It is really taking over. So you got to be thinking about your value proposition, how you're going to be leveraging that. Technology is always going to be evolving, always going to be here. Nothing you can do about it. Join the race, be a part of it, figure it out. But also you got to think about the workforce, right? You got to reimagine. You got to reimagine how you're going to approach this. The traditional way of looking at jobs is not going to be sustainable. A lot of jobs that you think about, like from an administrative type of role where there are tasks needed to be done, all that's going to be automated to their best ability that they can. They're going to be looking for ways to do that. It's nothing personal. I would say that for some of us, we need to be thinking about how to start a business. I pause because I know entrepreneurship is not everybody's path, not everybody's thing, right? But if it is your thing, you really do need to look at starting a business. Home ownership and entrepreneurship is wealth creation. Facts, right? But if that's not your lane, just be thinking about the workforce differently. Understand that you're going to have to continue to evolve skills. It's going to be kind of like the gerbil in the wheel thing. Yes. It's going to constantly be churning. It's going to constantly be, and even faster, right? And so I can honestly say that be thankful that you're living in this time, right? I think everybody has a period in life where they exist, and so you're at a place now where things are evolving, and the next generation come along, they'll have the same challenge. Everybody's, humanity has survived and will continue to survive, and you will too. You will do great. You just have to be mindful of the change. It's not going to wait for you. The technology is not going to wait. You gotta adapt to it quickly. You got to get yourself in position. You got to save your money. You got to make money. You guys think about this. The currency, dollar bills and quarters and stuff, they're going to go away at some point. That's going to create a challenge for you. Because it's really going to be about how you're executing, whether or not you're going to have access to the new currency, right? That's right now. There's still a divide between that. How many of you got Bitcoin now? None of you got your hands raised.
Tiny bit. Tiny bit.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying, but it's really a divide. It's really a digital divide here. So you really gotta. And look, my wife teased me because I still, I'm taking my check to the bank and deposit it. So I still have, these things that, I'm reading this book called Human Nature. You guys need to get it. But these things that we are used to, it's hard for us to break those traits, those things, those habits that we have. And so, but you guys are in a situation where you really, really can do some great things. I mean, just be thankful that you're here because, like when we were coming up, we had to read encyclopedias. They was they actually online. They were like, I'm sorry, tell my age here. I mean, so be thankful that, and there were things that we had access to that the generation before us didn't have. They didn't understand the computers and stuff like that. You guys are great with that, right? But if you sit on your laurels and you think that this thing is not going to get harder, you got it's going to be even challenging. When I was in young person, an 18-year-old could work at McDonald's, make $3.35 an hour, and have an apartment. You guys can't do that. When I was coming up, our parents told us we either college, military, or something. 18, you're out the house, right? We can't do that nowadays, right? It's really a different time. But just know that you guys are well prepared. This is why you're here. The community college is a great place. It's got so many resources here. This place is phenomenal. I've been connected to the school since 1972. My mom graduated from here.
Thank you so much. Can we give Mr. Powell a round of applause? Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing part of your story and just, really pouring into the students with knowledge and information. All right. So who has a question? Come on down to the microphone.
My question is for a person with numerous interests how do you recommend to navigate those interests in order to figure out a suitable career path?
You said human interest.
No, numerous interests. Like if
Numerous interests. I'm sorry, numerous interests. Okay, so all right. So listen, this is what I would say is you have to find something that I believe that you're passionate about. I think that's where you're going to get the longevity. But I also say this too, and I'll give you an example why. You got to earn a living, right? So you got a lot of starving artists out here not earning a living. So you got to figure out how you're going to make a living, right? Because you got to. The goal is in life, folks, is about building a foundation, right? This is how you get through life. You have to build the foundation. You have to do a foundation process where you start building. You start building your base for like your health, your insurance, your investments, a home. I mean, these are the things you're thinking about, right? Structural things, right? This is what because career is important. Everybody understands that career is important. But structurally, you're building a foundation because it's about longevity. You're trying to get to a place in life where you get older, and you know what I'm saying, and you can survive, right? So what you guys, as young people, need to be thinking about structurally is building a foundation and figuring out how you're going to do that. So having money and making money is just a part of that, right? So you got to figure out what that scenario is. Dr. King and I were talking about it also. Also, I was telling about a golf scenario, and the guy was telling me how to position, because you're asking me how to position. So what he said was, the shot was, I got to get the ball over there. He said, first you got to go here, then the ball's going to roll down there, right? So this is what you're asking me, how to pick the path, right? Yeah. So what I'm telling you is that, first of all, you just got to know that you got to make money. You got to figure out what that thing is going to help you make money, right? And so you're in college now. You try all the things that you know about. You got to be thinking about, okay, if I'm going to school to be an accountant, figure out how I'm going to make money in there, see if there are opportunities. If not, to figure out another way to make money, because it's about building the foundation. Soon you will find your place. The thing is, like I was telling Dr. King, you got to trust your swing, though. You got to have some confidence about where you are and have some beliefs that you're on that path. Yeah. Listen, all the things that you guys are doing, the idea is that you're gonna land somewhere, right? We're preparing a place for you so you have trajectory, right? You're gonna land someplace where that is. No one knows, right? The thing is that you have a vision. So I'm saying to you again, I hope I'm bringing this home for you. Yes. So how do you pick when you got so many things that you want to pursue, right? First thing is you got to understand is that as you're thinking about those things, you're thinking about I'm building a foundation. Structurally, I have to put in place these things. Mm-hmm. Again, what are you going to pursue? I would say look for the things that you are passionate about. Because I think that when the times get hard, it's going to give you the extra push that you need to get through it, right? But also remember, you have to make money. So oftentimes there's a conflict between your passion and making money.
True.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you so much. My second question is, are there any books that you recommend for us to read? Because I know you mentioned Human Nature, but do you have any other books?
Oh, my God. Yeah. This one book, Grit. Oh, man. I forgot the name of the author, but...
Angela Duckworth, right?
Huh?
Angela Duckworth.
No, his name is Duckworth. It's a gentleman, he was Kobe Bryant's coach, basketball coach. Man, I'll find it. I'll get to you after we speak here. But the reason why I love this book so much, folks, because it gives a lot of analogies about how do you overcome challenges. Mm-hmm. But it also sets up a scenario so that you can see yourself in these different places. So what he does is he uses sports figures or entrepreneurs, and he allows you to see their pitfalls, their weaknesses, their strengths, but it gives you a behind-the-scenes understanding of how they operate and how they excel. And so we look at great leaders, sport leaders like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, but like, for example, Kobe Bryant, he would go out and shoot 1,000 free throws for every game. Mm-hmm. And so you guys think by showing up in a suit and doing all these ancillary things, these outwardly things, it really makes the difference. Really, it's really about what you're doing internally, right? That thing that's inside of you will overcome anything else that's external, in terms of your competitors. The other one is persuasion. I forgot the name of the authors, but it's a really short book. It's 119 pages and no pictures, let me tell you that. But it's a great book. Listen, The Art of Persuasion. So people think that your ability to persuade people is based upon how much money you have. And that's far from the truth. Your ability to persuade people is your ability to how much they can trust you. Trust, character, the art of persuasion. Now, after we get this class, you got to stop by and get the exact name of the book. But that was one of the best books that I've ever read. Again, like I said, 119 pages. And my wife will know why. One of my jokes is I like to read picture books. They got a lot of pictures in it. Just it's a little sense of humor there. But this is one of the greatest, also another great book because it really brings home, and again, another reason why I like this is to give examples of individuals who had challenges with how to navigate social settings, how to be influential, right? And so I think that was another good book for you to read too, because as you're going through this part of you're trying to figure out how to navigate these different opportunities, you're going to need to have grit. You're going to need to know how to persuade people.
Okay.
And the key is trust, right? Your character, come with some character, folks. Show up with some character.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Come on down.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Okay.
Hello.
All right. So my question mainly pertains to your engineering. So you said you were engineering, but you not dropped out, but you left it.
Yes.
Which field of engineering?
Oh, electrical engineering.
Electrical.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so you were doing engineering, but then you decided to leave it, and I guess now you're pursuing more like business administration and having your own business stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you were like your third or fourth year, right, when you left, right?
Yes, sir.
When was it? When was like that moment that you decided it's time to pivot, not going into I don't want to say you didn't go into engineering. You probably still apply a lot of things in your business everyday life. But when did you decide it's your time to pivot? Like it's time to go more into business, leave the engineering field.
Great question. So, let me ask you a question. So when did I decide? What caused me to decide to pivot into business? Was at a time when my mom had just passed away, and so I had the unfortunate situation of dealing with her death, which was I thought was going to be a 6-month process, but it was 18 months. And so at the time, I was a manager. I just got promoted manager of the engineering department for this company. It was a subsidiary of Norwegian Telecom. And so developed a great rapport with the president of the company. I went to him and said, hey, my mom is dying. I just got promoted to this position. How do I, keep things going? And so he gave me my first contract. And so I was able to work that. And just my wife and I just got a young family and got bills to pay. So long story short, my mom passes and the decision is, do I go back to what I was doing before, or do I go on with the business path? And so I chose the business path because, like I said before, I mentioned early on that I knew intuitively that if I stayed in corporate America, that's what we used to call them a long time. I don't know if they use that term anymore. Mm-hmm. Stayed in the business world working as an employee, that I would not make it to the higher levels of board levels and things of that sort. And so I figured I'll take that shot now.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
And you never saw in terms of even though you pivoted to this, you never saw a way of creating your own business or something within engineering?
I did, and it failed. That was the first thing I did. It failed. It failed. Yeah, I developed a product for the utility. I went and worked with John Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, and we developed a product called Mr. Utility. And it was going to be taking sensors and RFID technology, and we were going to use the ambient heat from the. So what we were going to do was just help the crude pipeline oil companies to be able to detect corrosions in the pipes and things of that sort. And so back then they had this program, and they still do in Maryland, called Tech Transfer, TechCo, Technology Economic Development Corporation. I was also on their board. I wasn't on the board at the time, but they help fund these initiatives. And so basically they have the technology that will develop in the military and the university labs and things of that sort that you can commercialize. And so the idea was that we were going to help these companies know when the pipelines were experiencing stress and corrosion. So we developed this concept, partnered with Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, and had some first level success, some trials done. Really couldn't get it launched. One of the companies that came and took our space was Enron, and also a company called Utiliquest. They own Miss Utility. You guys probably hear Miss Utility is the company you call paint your yards. Yep. And so yeah, I like most entrepreneurs, I've had a lot of failures and some success. So that was my first venture. And fortunately, one of my board members suggested that I go into government contracting. And so that was my pitch to start my company. And so that company was called Transparent Communications Network. And so took probably 5 years to figure out how I was going to come up with a new name I was going to come up with. Now, I landed with Antioch Holdings, Inc. So you mentioned earlier that I owned another company called Antioch Holdings, Inc. Yeah, so that's how I got to that.
That's very insightful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What advice do you have for us when we feel discouraged to finish our degrees?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Like we feel discouraged to finish our
Feel
degrees.
discouraged.
So let me ask you a question. So you're feeling discouraged because you don't have the money, or you're feeling discouraged because you don't think this is really what you want to do?
No, when it gets overwhelming with the workload or like there's things going on.
Yeah. So what is your vision for yourself?
Finishing with my bachelor's, finding an internship for human resources, and being able to possibly work at the company and be able to like start up. I know like the starting job is a specialist, and then you work up from there.
That's beautiful. I say stay on your path. Stay on your path.
I
So you
have,
already have a vision. You
Yeah.
just, it's hard, right? I can tell you
Yeah.
got zigzags in life, and
yeah.
the next thing, listen, if you decide to jump off and pivot into something else, guess what's going to happen? The same thing you feeling right.
Okay.
Same thing, right? And so listen, it's okay. You good. Stay where you are. Keep going.
Thank you. My second question is, what advice do you have for us for those who are doing majors money driven, and like maybe one of the passions we have isn't like a salary that's dependable to live on? That makes sense.
So I think I understand your question. So let me make sure I understand. So you're doing something that's money driven, but
It might not be something you like.
Say it one more time.
It might not be something you like. Like you're doing
not
it
be
for the
something.
money.
I would say that, first of all, that's great that you're thinking about that. That's really great that you're understanding that role in where you are. Again, I don't know what your financial situation is, because like a lot of times, I saw something on TikTok recently about this question about, even Roland Martin was talking about it. I have this passion for art, and I just want to give to the community, but you don't have a job, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? You got to pay your bills. So I'm trying to balance my response. I'm trying to be really reflective here and be honest and truthful, right? But if you got bills to pay, you got to make sure you get your bills paid. That's first and foremost, right? So if you got everything taken care of financially, and then you want to deal with the dichotomy that you have right now, then deal with it at that time. But look inwardly. You will know the answer.
Like
Am I helpful?
yes, like passion, like side hustles.
Side hustle.
There's still things that make you happy.
Right. So if that's the case, then it's a side hustle. It doesn't. Your livelihood doesn't depend on it. By all means, give of yourself. The universe will pay you.
Thank you.
Give of yourself. Yes, absolutely.
Great questions, Faith.
Yeah.
You have a question?
How you doing? So
Good, how are you?
I have two questions for you, sir. My first question is, in today's workplace, how can leaders balance both their objectives and their well-being in a very hard-term work environment or very stressful work environment.
How do you balance your objective and your well-being?
Yes. So like how you like your mental, how do you value, how you balance yourself? How do you balance your surroundings while in that workplace?
It's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. So it's like, say for example, you're in a situation where you got a team, you're leading them, everybody's overworked, right? Everybody's putting in 15-hour days. What do you do as a leader in making sure that you're maintaining status quo and also taking care of yourself? Is that a good analogy?
Yes.
Okay. So first and foremost, your mental well-being is going to secure the team all the time. Your mental well-being is important. So you have to be mindful of that, right? Just like if you had a family, right? If you're not mentally healthy, how are you going to effectively lead your family? So you got to make sure that you're doing that, right? So as a leader, you got to make sure you're getting rest. Not only got to make sure your team is getting rest, you have to make sure you get a rest. You have to understand the importance of that, right? So you can lead by example, because sometimes the people won't rest unless you rest. So you have to show them that it's okay to rest. You have to show them it's okay to take breaks. You have to tell them it's okay to, if they need counseling, get counseling. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Lead
sir.
by example. But your mental well-being is so important for everybody that's involved, because if you're not strong, the whole thing will fall apart.
Okay. And my second question is, what strategies have you seen work best in your work environment, and also for people that are trying to pursue work environments that match yours?
So are you asking me, like, you have this vision of, you have values, your value
Yes.
system, right? And how do you how do you line that with an environment that may or may not have your same values?
Yes,
How do you
sir.
excel in that situation?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's important. Quick sidebar, I remember I was asking that question at a very young age to my mentor, and I asked him about values. And he told me oftentimes in corporate America, when you come in, they don't tell you what your values are. You have to watch and see. So you see certain things that don't align with your values. I think the reality is that if they don't align, they probably will never align, right? But look at the top, though. Look at the person at the top, right? Because there could be a difference between what's going on in the middle, right? Because if you see at the top that there's alignment there, then maybe there will be some cleanup that will take place and move that out the way. But if you see it at the top, things are not aligned there, then I would probably more likely they're not going to fall into what you're looking for, and it's not a good organization for you to be in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to pause here, just because I know some students have to get to their 12:30 class. But Mr. Powell, would you be willing to stay just a few
Absolutely.
minutes? I
I'm
know
loving
that
this.
there are some other folks
Absolutely.
that have
Thank you.
questions. All right,
Yes.
Dr. King.
Thank you. And let's give him a hand, please, before
Yes.
you go. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you, Mr. Powell.
Thank you, Dr. King.
Again, if some of you have some questions, I know we have them for the next 15 minutes, 19 minutes, so you can ask him your questions on the side. Be prepared next month. We have 2 more Fireside Chats. The flyers are there, so grab them next month. We have Nike and Under Armour coming. So just get ready for that. All right. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you all.